Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dr. Brooks, I'm from Michigan, and I've been practicing 27 years. And during that time, I've heard a lot of stories about veterinarians and people who have children that want to be veterinarian. My son's a veterinarian. My daughter wants to be a veterinarian. I was going to be a veterinarian. And there's a bunch of different types of veterinarians out there. And one story is about a local woman here in Orlando, that a little old lady from Michigan that moved down here, and she joined a church. And every week she would donate $1,000 to the collection plate. And after a couple weeks, the pastor of the church noticed this, and he thought, I need to meet this woman. So he introduced himself, and he said, ma'am, I want to say I'm very thankful for the money you're donating to our church. And she said, well, my son sends me money every week, and what I don't use, I give to the church. And he said, wow, that's phenomenal. I mean, how much does your son send you? And she said, he sends me $2,000. He said, my gosh, that's pretty incredible. He must be very successful to do that. What does your son do? And she said, well, he's a veterinarian. And he said, that's wonderful. It's a very noble profession and just incredible. And where does your son practice? And she said, well, he has a cat house in Las Vegas and a cat house in Reno. So, for the record, I'm not that type of veterinarian. So, I have been given the pleasure to reintroduce a BEMER product. And think of BEMER as we've got the human side over here, and we have the Classic and the Pro, okay? But now we have the BEMER Vet line, and this is the correct vernacular, and we have the Horse set, okay? That's the correct term now, is the Horse set, not the equine set, equine unit, Horse set. That's how we kind of really want this to go. So, that's what we're going to talk about today. First of all, we're going to talk about the timeline of events. 2 years ago in Orlando at a different hotel is where they announced the unveiling of the Horse set. And then it became available in early 2017. It won a Red Dot Award for its functionality, which is phenomenal because that's a very prestigious award. And then we made some changes, the buckles and some of the Velcro strapping. And by December of 2017, we pretty much revamped it, BEMER Vet Line Horse set, boom, that's where we are. Well, that's 2017, December, and here we are now. So what is different, okay? So basically, we have some things about this unit that we want to kind of go over to reiterate. Since we're reintroducing it, let's reiterate what we've got going. First of all, Marielle is going to help me out here, and she's going to, while I'm talking, she's going to put the BEMER Vet on the horse. So the beauty of the BEMER Vet is its adaptability and its adjustability to fit any size horse, from a cold-blooded draft horse, Clydesdale, to a miniature pony. We also have the aspect of it being cordless, which is really important because when you're working with a potentially stressed out horse in a stall, you don't need cords running around its feet, bumping up against it, or having a problem there, coming unplugged, it's not working. This is something that you can actually put on the horse and walk away if you want and really not worry about it. It has 3 different programs, and these programs I firmly believe that you could take somebody raised by wolves, put them in a room with the BEMER Vet, and they could figure out how to turn it on and work it. It's really easy. 3 programs, 5, 10, and 15 minutes. You want to start slow with the horse. You want to get them used to the BEMER, and then you want to be consistently inconsistent. And what that means is you're not always just going to put it on number 3, always number 2, always number 1. You're going to kind of go back and forth, and you're going to use a different combination. And that actually is the best way to get the best results on anything. When you're training yourself, or athletes, they always interval training is very important, and that's actually what you're doing when you're using the BEMER Vet by doing that. It's very durable, multiple uses on a charge. You can take it into a barn and take it from one horse to the next. It's easily cleaned with some mild detergent if you have to do it in between. The BEMER signal extends past the actual blanket, so if you have a horse blanket on there, you can put it over that so it doesn't get dirty, and it'll still work. It'll penetrate through and go beyond. So that's very important about the BEMER set. Now, this next slide, we're going to pause for a second here because studies prove it, you sense it, and we have a list of things here. Now, I could read these off and say it does this, it does that, and everybody would shake their head and they'd be like, okay, yeah, but as soon as we're done and we walk out there, how many of you do you think could actually explain why? And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful, I'm just saying that we need to be better trained when we're presenting BEMER. And to understand why there's a horse set, you have to understand the horse. And this is where we really need to talk for a second. And I will then go through and explain these things because you need to be able to explain something. If you really understand something, you should be able to explain it to a 6-year-old to make them understand it. And if you can't do that, then you really don't fully understand it yourself, because explanations do not need to be complicated. They don't have to be filled with big words. You should be able to convey what you're trying to say easily and simply. And that's actually what we're going to be getting into. So first of all, the horse. The horse is an example of an animal that has an unbelievable ability to transfer from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic nervous system. It's a mental process, it's a physical process. The horse gets all riled up, stressed out, it's in sympathetic mode, it runs down the racetrack or it's doing whatever you want it to do, and then it comes back and it's still in that mode. Well, it's very important for that horse to transfer that into parasympathetic mode so it can digest its food, so it can recover, and it can help prevent itself from injury, because the two things that BEMER Horse Set does is prevention and regeneration. So remember those words, that's very important. So this horse is, in the wild, it does this very effectively. It'll run around the range and then it'll stop and it'll eat grass and it goes about its business as far as going back to parasympathetic. But we stress them out. We start training them. We expect them to do this, expect them to do that. We want them to jump over this and that. We put them in a trailer. We take them out. We got a vet visiting them. We have a guy putting iron shoes on the bottom of them. I mean, it's a wonder that they're not total head cases, which some of them are. So we need to help them get back to that relaxation state. And that's what BEMER helps do. It helps condition them. So knowing that this about the horse, that's why there's a horse set, because we know what BEMER does. And this is the genius of BEMER, that the fact that they figured this out, that they didn't just, when I first heard about it, I was thinking, why didn't they do a dog or a cat model? It made more sense financially. But when you really want to show the effects of BEMER, you need a model that you can verify results, that you can get repeatable results, and that you can visually see them. And that's more difficult in other animals, but in the horse, it's pretty evident. So knowing that, BEMER didn't just put pictures of animals up on a board and threw a dart at it and it luckily hit the horse, because otherwise that was the luckiest throw in the world, because they knew what BEMER did and they said, okay, what's the best example that we can use to prove BEMER works? Because the medical panel that I was on, I'm the only one who can say this. In 27 years of practice, I have never once had a patient lie to me. These guys don't lie. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So BEMER knew that. So they said, we're going to do a horse set. And they did a horse set because this is the Corvette model. This is the Eldorado model of BEMER on the vet line. And they need to show that it works before we bring out other things. You have to show the world that this is the real deal. It works. And it's going to work for other animals too. So knowing that, let's talk about these things so you can explain this to people, because you're going to need to be able to do this. Improves microcirculation, supports parasympathetic processes in the body. Those two kind of go together. Well, that's kind of an easy one for you, because we all know that BEMER helps stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's what it does, right? It increases vasomotion, so it's helping circulation. So the low flux density waveform of the BEMER does that, right? So we kind of have those first two. Boost relaxation and recovery after exertion. So how does it do that? Well, the horse goes out and it's all stressed out, it runs around, we put the BEMER on it, and it helps turn that switch in its head so it can relax, okay? And when the horse relaxes, Then the animal will start repairing itself because it starts digesting its food, because when it's running around, it's not. So now when it's digesting its food, it's getting the nutrients and the blood flow going to everywhere it needs to go to help recover, help prevent, and help regenerate after that exertion. So it helps it put it in that mode. Increases productivity. How in the world does it do that? Well, when your horse is conditioned with the BEMER vet, it gets used to it and it looks forward to it. So when you are trying to load it in a trailer and you BEMER your horse, it loads easier. It comes out easier. When the farrier comes to do his work on its hooves, it's more cooperative. When the vet visits, it's more cooperative, and that saves time. And that extra time can then be used for other things, and that extra time of the horse recovering and being in that relaxed mode, conditioning its brain, helps it be more productive. It's more efficient. So that's how we do that. Now this next one is optimizes your training through greater suppleness. Suppleness, huge word in the horse world. What is suppleness? Definition, the gracefulness of a person or animal that exhibits flexibility and suppleness, right? So I don't know about you, but when I'm looking up the definition of a word and they use that word in the definition, it kind of doesn't do it for me. So you look at a little further and it says the property of being pliant and flexible. Okay, a little better. I got to look up pliant now, but kidding. The next one is adaptability of mind or character. So that's really what we're looking for, is those three, right? Because it is in the horse a process of the mind. We have to turn that switch. And then the body has to be pliant and flexible. It has to be ready to absorb the BEMER signal and get loose. It's like getting in the zone. You see a boxer before a fight, he's jumping around, he's moving his arms. He's getting in the zone. He's mentally preparing himself, and he's physically. As humans, we have the ability to process ourselves and get us into the zone ourselves. With horses, it's different. They don't have that. It's very difficult for them in a stressful situation to calm down on their own. We have to help them. So by doing that with BEMER, by conditioning that horse, it gets used to turning that switch in itself. So as a result, the horse becomes more supple. Now the trainer starts training the horse is way more open to what the trainer wants to do. And then the horse, when we're done training, gets back and it gets to relax, and he's loving this routine of going back and forth. So he becomes much more efficient. There's more time spent on training as opposed to dealing with just getting the horse calmed down. You can get it in the trailer, you can get it out. You can do everything you need to do with this horse because he's just easier to work with. And that is suppleness, just that ability to be consciously open and physically able to do the things that are desired, that we desire them to do based on them being natural athletes. We want them to perform. Well, they have to practice getting ready like we do, and it helps do that. So enhances, so hopefully that kind of helps explain suppleness and why BEMER is so important and why you're going to see a much more productive horse. I've never seen a horse not respond to BEMER positively. Enhances the immune system or resistance to infection. How does that work? Well, when the BEMER is kicking in and the horse is in the parasympathetic tone, you know, if you were to open up a horse, it just looks like a plate of spaghetti in there, but there is order to the chaos. And that food in there that is just constantly sitting in there needs to be peristaltically moved through from, you know, mouth to rear. And when that horse is running and performing, that's not happening. Well, the bacteria in there is still producing gas, and that can expand the horse's intestines, and if it turns on itself, it cuts off blood supply. And when it cuts off blood supply, that part of it could die, it could necrose, it could rupture, and it could kill the horse. So colic, that's referred to as colic, is a number one problem with horses, and it can be a career ender. But if you're constantly having this horse, because BEMER lasts for 12 to 16 hours, right? So when this horse is BEMER'd and you take it off and it's, you know, gonna go to sleep for that night, it's encouraging that digestive stuff going on. It's encouraging that horse to relax. So it's just going to prevent infection by properly helping the immune system, which is kind of the heart of your immune system is in your gut anyway. So it's helping that. And that's how that's another way of how it helps prevent infection and helps regenerate. Accelerates the recovery process after injuries. Once again, the horse goes out, runs out, maybe it pulls a muscle, maybe it hurts itself, you have damaged tissue, you can use the cuff to do some of the extremities, and you actually start beaming those particular areas specifically where it needs to go to help that animal recover. So the ability of doing the whole horse or doing an individual area just increases your adaptability of the product to help that horse perform better and prevent that injury, help that area recover, help blood flow get to that, help the magic of BEMER, help those interactions in the microvascular areas of the nutrients in, the waste out, the inflammation down. It helps just initiate that and take it to the next level, which otherwise there's just no other device out there that does that. Pre-anesthetic surgery, post-op, the times are enhanced. What this really refers to is that if you've ever seen a horse wake up from anesthesia, it's like bumper cars, okay? You put them in a padded room, you put a huge padded helmet on them, you take a crane, you load them on the floor, you get them comfortable, you get out of the way. Because when he wakes up, it's craziness. So that can be, a lot of horses get hurt when they're waking up. And part of the reason is that when they're under anesthesia, there's an enzyme called CK, and we measure it in the blood. And this is another way of verifying what BEMER does, is that elevates, and it's elevated through what's called rhabdomyolysis, and that's the destruction of muscle tissue. So as the animal's laying there, this enzyme is going up, and the body knows this. So the body will trigger the horse, hey, you need to get up. This is a bad enzyme, it decreases renal function, this can be a problem, get up. So the horse, unbeknownst to itself, because this is unconscious, will start to try to get up before it really needs to. And that leads to problems. I mean, it can, there's many horses. Years ago, there was a horse that broke its leg on a track and they set it. They did everything perfect, and the horse had to be put down because after it was like a 16-hour surgery, when the horse stood up, it re-broke its leg because it was going crazy. So BEMER decreases CK levels. So in decreasing CK levels, that horse stays in lateral recumbency longer. And staying in it longer, the horse gets rid of the anesthetic, so when it gets ready to rise, it is almost fully recovered and it gets up almost without any kind of incident. So as a result, it's a much safer recovery. Plus, by BEMERing it before and after, the level of anesthesia used, as I mentioned before, is less. So these guys, the prevention aspect there of preventing injury after a surgery is like huge. And once again, it's verifiable. So these things are proven, the studies are out there. So we ran through that list. Hopefully you can see how you could put anything up there, and I'll tell you how you can explain it through BEMER. So pretty simple explanations, and it all comes back to the sympathetic and its ability to help that horse turn that switch in its head and start acting the way he should. So I hope that kind of makes that clear, that suppleness, the way the horse works, and why BEMER Horse Set is the #1 veterinary unit in the world today. Okay? So we got some new information because we have a new brochure. So basically, we've got a little video that I want to show you right now, if we're keyed up and we can do that. So as you can see, that is a little different than 2 years ago, excuse me, when they introduced the BEMER set. This is kind of an example of what you're going to be seeing in the new brochure. The whole thing has changed. The whole aura around it is different. The pre-release response to this brochure is basically exponentially higher than the original one. So what does that mean? That means that you have a really good chance of being more successful with this as we move forward. And that's the whole idea of this. That's the whole idea of reintroducing this, because it just didn't go well at first. Our initial situation after we released it was people weren't happy with it, all right? The feedback from the IBDs, at BEMER, we really listened to what you had to say. Now, you didn't get feedback on that, because I don't even get feedback on it, and Dr. Burka doesn't either, but they do listen, and they change things. And some of the vernacular was wrong in the previous one. They would say, when the horse visits the vet, and that doesn't happen in equine medicine. The vet visits the horse. Some of the ears were wrong, the pictures. BEMER wasn't they made a mistake, and they know it, and they're not happy with themselves. They did some own reflection. They said, we need to change things. So they decided to engage some equine veterinarian and horse experts, right? And they do have some new studies, clinical studies, and we had talked about the verifiability of what happens with BEMER with horses. You can measure it. And those are going to be available by the end of 2018. So what else was done? They didn't just do a new brochure. Excuse me. Basically, they decided, hey, why don't we get some people and go outside of BEMER and get some people involved in this so we don't have to do this again, and we can really move forward with this from now on and other vet products. So obviously Dr. Klopp, everybody knows him. Dr. Gen. Dr. Gen is a veterinarian in Germany. And this guy is the top of the food chain. His patients are Olympic champions, so horse Olympic champions, okay? So when you're kind of dealing with people like that, you're gonna get right to it and know exactly what needs to be done, because Dr. Klopp worked with this individual and showing him the studies, and when when they kind of saw what was going on and everything, they know that this is the real deal. Now, it takes more than that, right? So they worked with a couple groups, Hoff, Kasselman. Think of them, these groups are in Germany, believe it or not. And Hoff, Kasselman, think of that as kind of like a horse ranch. They're horse traders. They breed, they train. Their size of their company is quite large. It's actually larger than, if you were to take the employees at BEMER headquarters, they're larger than that. So they're a formidable force in Germany, and they're one of the best that's there. And they were very integral in helping develop this new brochure and what needs to be in it and what direction we need to take to be successful in the equine world. PST is a marketing group that is also in Germany, and they got involved to help with the marketing aspect of things. So you have horse experts, and then you have marketing experts in the horse industry. I mean, you really can't do much better than that. That's really who's going to help develop this brochure. The redesigning of the images and the text you're going to see when you see the brochure are, it really makes sense. If you compare the old brochure to the new one, you're going to just be like, this is the thing, this is great. They removed it, and they got third-party approval on things, and they had people come in from the outside, not just BEMER, that helped BEMER make decisions, yes, no. Just because you want to do that, that's not the way to go. And BEMER listened and said, okay, let's just do the right thing here. They got, so we're talking marketing here, right? So we have to have great marketing materials. You know how important that is. So they got a top photographer, and these companies, for 2 days, they consulted with them. And you may think that's not a lot of time, but when you're just sitting in a room and they've done all their homework, so it's not like you just show up and say, okay, what are we discussing? They've done some preliminary work. So when they show up, they say, here's what we got, and they do a big presentation. It takes 2 days to go through what we want, what we don't want, to make sure that it's a great product. So there a lot of time and money was spent in preparing for those meetings of those 2 days and with those companies. This is Amadeus. Amadeus is literally a stud. okay? 20-time champion. This horse has done it all, and he's beautiful. This is the model of the new brochure, and that's step one, is a recognizable horse. It's kind of like he's our celebrity spokesperson. Now you're looking at this and you're probably thinking, what is this? This is a pictogram that actually was developed for BEMER. And so BEMER's the only one that has this. And the whole point of this is for anybody who owns a horse, rides a horse, or trains a horse should have a BEMER. Because this pictogram kind of talks about from pleasure riding to polo, dressage to hunter jumpers. Any kind of horse activity is kind of depicted in this pictogram, and it's made there so when people read the brochure, they say, oh, I do this one. And it's not just for, oh, well, that's for hunter jumpers or that's for cross country. People will see that this is for every horse. It doesn't matter what you're doing with them, they can benefit from this, and they need to have this product. So this pictogram is in the brochure, and it's developed for BEMER to help you present better. This is kind of a little, you know, I realize that some of these things are teasers and you really can't probably see them too well, but just the general layout of the brochure blows away the old one. From clothing to the demonstration of an emotional bond between horse and owner, and basically the vernacular used in the brochure is proper as opposed to what was done before. So information in the brochures. Clear facts, very easy, kind of like we were talking about with the 6-year-old. You want to be able to, you know, you don't want people to have to go to school to figure it out. You know, don't build me a watch, just tell me what time it is. So these kind of things are helping do that. The placebo double-blind study, which in vet medicine kind of cracks me up because, like I said, they don't lie to us. But as I mentioned earlier with the vasomotion in the symposium, you do have to prove things because people will just try to find a way to not believe in what you're doing. Got it. So I got to close up really quick here, people. We have a video to show you, okay? The back office of the brochure is available in your, the brochure is available in your back office through Creatives, okay? And they have other marketing materials. The wall thing out here, this wall unit that you see is beautiful. They have floor pull-ups. These are marketing materials available in Creatives for you to help develop a process of selling this. There's a health professional video that helps you present this better, and it focuses on prevention and recovery. We have new testimonials in there. We have the world champions, Simone Bloom, who was just got her championship in North Carolina, just in September. So if you need more information, there's a website, and here is the movie that is available in your back office.
Moments of happiness. When your horse feels well, energetic and limber, healthy and bursting with strength. Moments of happiness you do anything to keep. Moments of happiness provided to you by the BEMER Horse Set. It stimulates the small blood vessels when circulation is restricted. In doing so, it boosts metabolism and cell activity. This supports regeneration, tension release, recovery and healing processes, and is an effective preventive measure for your horse. Beyond this, the BEMER Horse Set keeps your horse supple for optimum movement. For every horse, for every equestrian sport. The treatment only takes a few minutes each day and is very simple. Our BEMER Horse Set includes an adjustable horse blanket and cuff, the dynamic duo for helping your horse. The batteries and the signal controller built into the cuff and the horse blanket enable wireless operation. Clever details enhance our unique solution. You will be amazed. It has already wowed the leading professionals in equestrian sports. Medically supported by Dr. Hermann Genn, Approved by PST Paul Schockemöller. Successfully used by show jumper and world champion Simona Bloom. The BEMER Horse Set. Try it for yourself and for your horse's health.
One more thing I am supposed to mention. Last thing, I promise, and they're going to kick me off the stage here, is it's very important that you represent BEMER, the horse set, and yourselves professionally. And how do you do that? You come prepared. You can't just put on cowboy boots, walk into a barn and say, hey, I'm a horse person, okay? You need to study this material. You need to look at it. If you're not a horse person, you're uncomfortable, get somebody who is and get them to help you. And you're going to give a much better impression than what we kind of did in the past when this first was released. This is very important. We need to go out and make a positive impression in the horse world, and we can do that with these tools now. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Yeah, thank you.